What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the RDJ Report. I'm your host, Pablo, and joining me, as always, is Mr. Brian Schultz. Marvel, the MCU, the future, priorities. We got a lot of stuff coming up, a lot of things that have been talked about, mentioned. Fantastic Four box office is struggling. That says a lot.
Yeah, we'll get into it because that's why I want to talk about this feature article and what's going on. Yeah, it does say a lot.
X-Men.
I told you though, right? I told you like there were those little nuggets of like all the ratings and reactions were the same, but it just felt like Superman had that little extra zest of novelty and zeitgeist and yes, controversy on it. And it just, that was keeping the legs going in a way that this thing, yeah, we'll talk about it, probably should, but isn't.
And this piece to a lot of the conversations I've said in things that I mentioned in the past about, are people tired of Marvel, yo? They don't care.
It's funny. You and I have been for our other taping. We've been joking a little bit about Rocky 3, and like as you're talking this, all I hear is Apollo.
Let's do it tomorrow. There is no tomorrow.
We've also gotten mention of X-Men. We're gonna get more conversation about X-Men and headlines because they're starting to cast. They're starting to be more specific about what they want. Blade again, yo. I'm telling you, man, this is a game of chicken. Who's gonna be like we? You know, this is what it is. Because Marvel can't be the one to say, Blade, you're not. And Mahershala Ali is putting pressure on. This is become an interesting thing, yo.
This is the Seinfeld where the company keeps firing George, and he keeps showing up in the office, and they start like boarding up the building, and then he like comes through the HVAC, and he calls it. He's like, "I'm in my office." Like this is that. Yeah.
We're gonna talk about some Deadpool stuff too.
In the context of the future calendar, maybe like what's surprising and what's not. Yeah.
I was watching Blade Trinity.
Oh, that's a tough one.
Yeah, if you haven't watched it, just watch the Ryan Reynolds and the Ryan Reynolds scenes and close your eyes.
Oh yeah, it's the same. Well, he's the same every time. He's using the
Renner.
same voice, the same wisecracking, same everything.
Yeah, yo. It's not like he was doing this back then. That's why. I mean, he's perfect for Deadpool. Perfect. But I can't watch this dude in different stuff because he does the same thing over and over again. Anyway, Renner probably won whatever battle he's the strategic maneuver he chose to go the route of. Renner says more Hawkeye coming. Black Panther 3 reintroduces T'Challa Toussaint.
Yeah, it seems like that's heating up.
I think that's where heating up.
And we kind of knew that was coming, but it feels like it's now like coalescing and it's a real thing. And they've got a filming date and like things are going on there. Things are happening.
Pascal calls Doomsday Daddy Doomsday.
Downey.
He calls Doom.
No, he calls Downey Daddy Doomsday.
He calls Downey Daddy
That's
Doomsday.
going to be a meme right there. It's going to be a meme.
And the new Spidey outfit. When you look at that picture, there's like, this is who you want as Bond? This is who you want as Bond. Just think about that. No. Let's get into it. The struggling box office for Fantastic Four, Brian. What's going on? What is this telling you about the MCU and about their future projects that they have spent
$1 billion?
We said it. If Avengers doesn't make $2 billion at least, there's gonna be problems. I don't know if do they commit to a Secret Wars? What are your thoughts on this whole thing?
The last point. Yes, they commit to Secret Wars because they have to blow up the universe and start over. So the question, if you're asking the question of timing, yes, I think there's still a chance and a decent chance these movies get delayed again. I mean, you just kind of look, right? They're early days filming Doomsday and it's August. A movie of that scale and proportion where there's going to be reshoots. As we know, they're still writing the script on the fly, according to Rebecca Romaine. Christmas of next year looks awfully ambitious to get that movie ready with all the posts they're going to need for CGI and stuff. Would not be shocked if Doomsday is pushed to 2027. And as a result, as you said, depending on how the box office goes, would not be shocked if Secret Wars is more than a year after that. Would not be shocked. The only reason it wouldn't be, like I said, is I think they want to get the slate clear. So the reason to do it sooner is just like, hey, we need to reset the universe so we can do the things we really want to do. And we're going to take a hit. Well, a relative hit financially on these movies no matter what. So let's just get it over with. I think that's the argument for doing it sooner. But yeah, look, let's take quickly. I don't have to give you whole numbers, but I mentioned that Fantastic Four and Superman had very similar opening weekends. Superman was a little higher in the US. Fantastic Four was a little higher overseas. But even in that first weekend, there was this little nugget of Fantastic Four was more front-end loaded. That Friday, that first day, Thursday, Friday, came in higher than Superman. And then kind of as the weekend went on, was starting to dip below it. And that trend line continued all through the first week to where Superman's hold is now more than 10% better than Fantastic Four. So that second weekend is tracking. Superman dropped 53, 54%. That's excellent for a blockbuster. Fantastic Four's drop is now looking like 65%. That has been usually associated with disappointment. So like big event movies where people are kind of like, the weird thing though is, as I said, reviews are good, audience score is good, cinema score is good. So that really is circling fatigue. And there's not, like I said, you could say Naked Gun, Bad Guys 2, there's competition, but there's no blockbuster competition. So this is just fatigue. This is like people that went to see it are like, nice job, fine movie, had a good time. You know what I'm not going to do? Go back. You know what I'm not going to do? Tell my friends, drop everything and go see this.
Yeah.
And you're kind of seeing like now Superman's hold is taking that projections more to like, okay, this thing might do 650. This thing might do maybe even scratch out 700, globally. Fantastic Four is not going to beat that. Like Fantastic Four is probably hoping for 600, 550. Like it's just petering out. And like now you have to step back and say Thunderbolts was a solid movie. Didn't make 400. Fantastic Four was a very good movie. Very good classic Marvel movie. Struggling to get to 550, 600. Brand's been damaged. Fatigue for the genre we can counter because Superman is somewhat of a counter to that. And you could even say within the same studio, not necessarily for the genre, because Deadpool and Wolverine is less than a year old and that was 1.3 billion. But this central MCU, which they were trying to kind of pivot with this Fantastic Four movie, that's where people are just kind of saying like, take it or leave. I'm all right either way.
Yeah. And perhaps these people said to their friends, go see it. And just people are like, I'm out, I'm out. There's a lot of people that are just out. They don't care. So what does this spell for the Avengers?
Well, it spells less product. And we knew that's where this was heading. But Variety, Tatiana Siegel, well-connected author, has an article, a feature up this week called Marvel's Next Moves. And basically the lead of this article is what we just said, like Fantastic Four, box office, her lead is could have been worse, could have been better. And I think that's a very fair assessment. This is a very mid outcome for this movie, which I think is better than mid. So the first quote that I want to hit you with is something we've talked about, but, gets laid out here. This idea of what is success now in this genre? And there's a quote she says, a top agent who represents several MCU actors. So try to back into who that is. But, quote, there's a reset of what a hit is. I don't see them, meaning Marvel, hitting $1 billion as before. Because without China, with Disney Plus, post-COVID, and without megastars, China used Marvel, Disney, and the U.S. film industry to seed their own, end quote. We are never going to have those days again. And you see that in the numbers. So I think this is I would submit 750 is the new billion. for non-Avenger, non-team ups, right? 750 is the new billion. So in that lens, Superman at 650, 700 is kind of like an 850, 900 in the old era.
Yeah, because Superman comes out during that time, forget about it.
This Superman comes out in 2018, billion easy. Like if you swap this Superman movie with Aquaman, not even close.
Yeah.
But I think if you put this Fantastic Four movie in where Captain Marvel was, I think that will also make $1 billion back then.
Again, this is not a new thing here when we speak of the fatigue being of Marvel and their things and their product. That's why this reset is so necessary. And we knew it was coming, but how they, again, we can talk all day about all the stuff that went wrong and all the pressures that Kevin Feige was under to push out as much product as possible. I mean, again, something that we've been talking about for a long time already about what could have caused all of this. Doomsday.
That's a relic of the old way of doing business.
But let me tell you something, Brian. I think, and this is just me speculating, that end credit scene didn't do nothing. Again, that end credit scene didn't do anything to get you excited for the next thing. All we have is Doom showing up with his mask off, looking at Baby Franklin. That wasn't enough.
Yeah, but again,
that wasn't enough. I like the end credit scene better in Thunderbolts than just Doom crouching over, and then it was just not compelling enough to get me excited for what's coming up next.
But again,
we know Doom is coming.
That's the key. The key is that Disney already had to tell. This is what we talked about in the last show. Disney already gave that away. Put yourself in the time machine. When you watch Iron Man 1, did you know before the movie that Nick Fury was going to say Avengers at the end of it? No, you did not. You did not know that. Did you know Thanos was going to turn to the screen before you went to see Avengers 1? You did not know that. That's the difference. Those scenes have impact because they introduced bigger storytelling that was kept under wraps.
Yes.
And they needed Downey. They needed that moment on stage. So they fired the bullet and blew the spoiler before. That's what I'm telling you. That scene, if you don't do any of that, that scene all of a sudden does work.
Yes, this is huge, but still, because it's out already, right? We already know what's coming, or we know who's coming. We don't need to show him at all. We don't need to show him at all. Just do Doom things, and they didn't do that. So this is whatever. That's what it was. Whatever that scene was just a waste.
The reality of what we're talking about with this box office lead is it feeds through to budgets, casting, and ideas. We know from the previous show, Kevin talking about, hey, I cut the budget by 1/3 on the last couple movies. Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four would suggest you need to cut it more. And this article, Tatiana Stiegel article, kind of speaks to that. So let's talk about X-Men. I don't think this is a surprise, but I am focused on a couple of things here. So Jake Schreier is directing X-Men, director of Thunderbolts. Quote from the article, casting will begin soon and the field is wide open, but Marvel has indicated to reps it is looking for younger talent, not A-listers, to keep the cost down. So here's the thing with that. I don't think that's a surprise. I think it makes sense. What I'm fascinated to see is Marvel has to control the back end of this. Because if you recall, they got Downey on the cheap to do Iron Man because of where his career and his life was. But because they didn't necessarily imagine how successful this was all going to turn out to be, Downey wound up making $50 to $100 million a movie after that off of them because he had back end, he had all the leverage, and then he was able to then negotiate basically for his other co-stars to get huge paydays. you know that Marvel's going to want to try to avoid handing out those kind of future pay packages. So can they get elite young talent to sign multi-picture deals with controlled cost? That I think is the real question here. And because you're like, if you're a really young hot actor who wants to bet on themselves, you shouldn't sign that deal.
No, Peterman, mira nomás.
You should not sign a deal that caps you for like 6 movies where you're only making, $1 million or $2 million a movie. That's silly. If you're the next Wolverine and you hit it,
Oh, mezcal.
you're gonna be the most underpaid actor in Hollywood. So I am fascinated to see how this goes because I know that's what the negotiation is gonna be. And I bet you Marvel loses a couple really promising young actors over that, which then goes to the point of how is DC structuring their contracts? Because they're facing the same dilemma, right? Of like, you can't count on $1 billion. We just talked about how little Corrin Sweat, Holt, and Brosnahan made, but they're a little more established, a little older. You would figure that in the sequel, they will get paid more, right?
Yeah.
But how is DC going to, and can DC steal some actors on the idea? Would they pay up? Like, would they pay up? Like, they certainly would pay up for Chalamet. We know that because he's one of their guys. He's a Warner Brothers actor. But like, would they pay up for a Mescal if they thought he would fit better in their universe? Like, that's where this gets very interesting. If you lowball too hard, there's another competitor now that's viable to where those people could say, all right, I'll do IP over there. Anyway, but it does confirm X-Men being, kind of fast track, front burner, young X-Men. Young X-Men. That's why I think you take those like Denzel and Giancarlo Esposito, just toss those out. They ain't going to have no 65-year-old X and then 18, 21-year-old everyone else.
But Wolverine would need to be or look like what?
Well,
He can't be young.
I got you. Not every actor has to be young, but I think they're saying overall, yeah. Like I said, X is not going to be 25 either, right? Xavier's probably he's probably older, honestly, than McAvoy looked in First Class. And then I think Wolverine can be older. Although I sent you that little clip. He was always been rumored, but there was Josh Hartwitz had Taron Egerton on. I thought he gave a really thoughtful answer to the Wolverine question about why he actually.
And what was?
Well, he said basically he would not want the part because he doesn't want the fame that goes with the part. He said that I've reached a stage in my professional life where I get asked for a couple selfies a day, and I'm very happy to have those conversations and moments with fans. And he's like, if I take that part, he's like, I'll never be able to set foot outside my house again. And he's like, I don't want that to be my life. He's like, I just can't do it. And then he said, on top of that, he's like, he admits basically, you can infer from his thing, a conversation was had with him about this part because he kind of talks about like, and he's like, while this was kind of going on, he's like, Hugh came back and he's like, Hugh showed he still got it. So he's like, have at it. And I thought it was it's like a 3-minute clip on the Horowitz podcast. I thought it was a really thoughtful answer to like, yes, he was talked to. No, he doesn't want the part and will not play it. Yeah. Second part of the article. Doomsday. Okay. Speaking of the relic. Quote, Avengers Doomsday will feature at least one mega payday. Robert Downey Jr., who is returning to the Marvel fold as villain Dr. Doom. Sources say Downey has earned $500 to $600 million over the course of his 7 Marvel movies and 3 cameos, and will not be working at a discount on Doomsday. He's averaging $75 million an outing, and that includes a first outing where he made almost nothing. So if you take that one movie out, which is Iron Man 1, where it's like less than $1 million or whatever it was, and you say 600 million is the right number, he's making close to $100 million an appearance.
Jeez.
Just for those movies and 3 cameos. Here's the thing I thought was interesting. You know who's also not working at a discount and apparently is the second billed star in this movie? Like above all the Hemsworth. Neither will Chris Hemsworth, who's returning as Thor. Sources say Pedro Pascal is not the centerpiece, but does have an integral role. So Chris Hemsworth is getting the megabucks to come back. He's the 1A, which, as we know, with the whole rumored Loki role, actually got me a little excited because I was like, all right, give me more of them.
Can't do this without him. So yeah, it's a negotiation for this go around. Oh, you want me back? Okay, let me see.
I think also they found the way in on Chris Evans too, with that other rumor that we'll talk about in the void. I think they found the thing that he wanted, and it wasn't just money. I saw that other headline and I was like, aha, I see what's going on here. You want a seat at that table in order to play again in this sandbox. I'm like, I got you. I see what you're doing. Anyway,
good.
The point is, when you talk about budgets, take the over on every number you see for Doomsday. Look at what I just said. Robert Downey's going to be in for $100 million. And they're saying Hemsworth, so what is he in for? 50? It's not 10? And they're going to bring back the other people, granted small roles. They're going to be paying like, what, $500 million just for cast. It's some enormous number. The idea that this could be $1 billion budget to me is not far-fetched.
Yeah.
Which case you need over $2 billion to break even. Like, that's what that means. Never again, man. Never again. That's what that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about what's front burner. We talked about X-Men as front burner. I was a little surprised. So Black Panther 3 is the other thing that's really front burner. Quote from this article, but I'll bring in something else. Ideas are percolating on a Ryan Coogler helmed Black Panther 3, which is creating excitement internally. End quote. Now, I did see a separate article which said those ideas are so far along that Coogler is circling a shooting date at the end of next year, and that the story does in fact reintroduce a new, either Toussaint grown up or a new T'Challa figure into the Black Panther role, which is what's been long rumored. But I think there's now some scuttle that, like, yeah, they're casting lines, right? They're going out and talking to people formally and now trying to get somebody into that part for Black Panther 3. So that is front burner, fast track. It appears like Coogler has a story he wants to tell, and by all accounts, the studio's fired up about it.
Who do you think he's chosen or has in mind for Black Panther?
I mean, everyone's obviously still bringing up Damson Idris' name because of F1, but I don't know. I don't think you can know. I mean, Coogler's got his own. He has his own list. I mean, basically, it'll be who he wants. I mean, you could say that Disney wants this and budget that.
Probably that kid from Sinners.
I wouldn't rule it out. But Miles Caton, that's the kid in Sinners, who's 20 years old. That's when I saw the movie, I was like, Coogler does like to repeat work with people, like most top directors do. And I was like, this guy is in the right age bracket. He's like 20 years old, 21 years old. That's probably who I would lay a few bucks on in the futures market. But what's not on the front burner? What is not on the front burner? Okay, so the two things that were mentioned that were really on the back burner, one is completely unsurprising. One is actually quite surprising. So the two projects that the Variety article says, the studio is in no hurry on Blade. That was the phrase described. The other project they're not moving on at all is Deadpool. That one apparently is going to sit on the shelf for a while. I don't know if that's from the Ryan Reynolds camp or from the Disney camp, but $1.3 billion.
Certainly
I think it is
him,
too, and maybe from Hugh Jackman as well. But like $1.3 billion, for that movie, I think it's interesting that they're basically not trying to fast track a sequel, and instead probably trying to negotiate with Reynolds and Jackman to get their parts squared away for Secret Wars. But anyway, Blade, no hurry. After Kevin Feige said, "Yeah, Mahershala is still attached." I mean, I don't know how much more obvious this can be, folks. Like,
it's not happening, man. It's not happening. And we've been calling it for how long already?
51 years old, right? 51 years old today. Disney's not in any hurry to start production. So you can, and if they're saying Black Panther front burner is starting production in, the end of 26, early 27, you can kind of infer the earliest you would see a Blade movie gearing up, 28, 29, 2030. Mahershala Ali will be 54, 55, 56. Like, it's not happening. It's not happening.
Renner says more Hawkeye coming.
We knew this was coming. I told you when this thing first broke and he negotiated through the press about his pay. My immediate reaction was, yeah, they want to do Hawkeye season 2. I don't think it will be with him as the lead. I think they will hand it off to Haley Steinfeld. He will just be in the show, less working time, less pay, which is what he was complaining about. But he says, quote, speaking to Empire Magazine, quote, I'm always happy to be in that world, man. I love all those guys. I love the character. I'm sure we will end up doing season 2 and other things, and I am happy to do it. My body's getting ready for something like that, meaning Hawkeye. I don't know if anybody wants to see me in the tights, but my body will look good in the tights, end quote.
Yeah, he finally, he got something that they can work with, and he'll be back. Well, how much of a role he'll have will be, I guess we'll see.
I think he also wants a little bit of this. He also probably wants a little bit of the Secret Wars party too, right? That's also a little bit of like other things, not just Hawkeye season 2. Where he's like, don't forget about me. Don't forget about me.
Hell yeah. I mean, and you, okay, I'm going to ask you again before we move on to Pascal. Scarlett Johansson shows up.
Certainly by Secret Wars. I don't know if she's going to do, not all these people need to do both, right? I mean, I think by Secret Wars, she's back. Because she is doing something else with Disney too. That's the thing. Like she it's like they've mended fences enough with the money to where like, and she doesn't, I don't think she holds Kevin responsible for what happened. So I think she would, I just don't think they're going to have we've got 5 of the original 6 and you're the only one that didn't show up. Like she don't want to be that either. I mean, she just did Jurassic because she loved it and like her kids love it. You think her kids are going to be like, Mom, why are you the only one who didn't go be in Secret Wars? Come on now.
Like, Pascal. Daddy Doomsday. He calls RDJ Daddy Doomsday.
He's a quote. I'll just give you the quote. Pedro Pascal. He's a remarkable man, meaning Downey. He's delicious.
I'm a grown-ass man, dog. I ain't gonna call no another dude delicious.
It's loads of fun, and he is Daddy Doomsday to all of us, truly, end quote.
You know what? This all tells me that Robert Downey Jr., and this is obvious, I think, to most people, is that he's running the show.
You got it. That's what the quote really says. It is his set. It is his production. Things will go his way. What you're going to see on screen will live and die with his interpretations. Not just his performance, but his sensibilities for what the movie ought to look like. And I think that is not to say he wasn't a force of nature on Endgame or Infinity War or any other project, because Rise of the MCU makes clear, even from Iron Man 1, he's like rewriting stuff day to day. But I do think there's a whiff of rock moves here, just a whiff. In the sense that like when they got to Infinity War and Endgame, they were humming. There was a machine. So everyone could see the finish line. They knew what the finish line was. So there was less of a need for Downey to take over, as it were. This whole Avengers situation is a mess. That is a little bit of a power vacuum. And I do get the sense that in coming back, like he is coming back full force and basically being like, well, y'all don't have any leadership, so it's CEO Stark is in the house. Like I do get that sense. Which, if anyone saw Doolittle, you may not want that. May not want that.
This is going to be very interesting, man.
And I think also, even though there's so many A-listers who will have small to big parts in this movie, I think what Pascal's saying is like nobody has any question who the alpha is. Right? Like, you could say on the one hand, Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, they ain't going to bow down to anyone. But they're also too old to care enough to get into a power struggle on set with Robert Downey, right? They're just going to have they're going to have fun. They'll be like, all right, I'll have fun with this. Whatever you want me to do. We're here for the fans. I'm in my 80s. Let's kick it. Let's have a good time. That's what as Pascal's kind of saying, like, yeah, I'm the man of the moment, like big picture, right? Hollywood TV. I'm the man of the moment. And he's basically publicly saying, like, it's Downey's set. Like, I am not here to compete with that.
New Spidey costume. Listen, from the first talk that we've gotten to like him commenting on first drafts, you know what I'm saying? And him making this Spider-Man sort of introduction for this next movie. I don't know. I wonder where he got his inspiration from. We don't need none of this, yo. We don't need none of this. This is James Bond. This could be our James Bond. The only reason why his name is out there is because he wants to play James Bond.
Which he said. He gave an interview basically where he was like, this would be a dream come true. And he kind of like dangles that it might happen. He's like, every British kid growing up wants to be James Bond. I don't blame you for having dreams, but like, you're the wrong guy for the part.
Yeah. I mean, listen, he wanted Spider-Man, he got Spider-Man. He wanted to be with Zendaya, he got Zendaya. So he is on this trip of like, whatever I say happens. I want to be James
He's
Bond.
like in a Chris Nolan movie now, so he's smelling, awards fair and,
This one isn't for you, yo. This one just isn't for you. I'm sorry. James Bond, find somebody that can really be believable as James Bond. He is not. I mean, if he's able to pull it off, if it actually happens, Brian, that'll be interesting.
So they put out the shot, right, of the new kind of homemade costume, and it looks homemade. I think they did this because he's about to get on set for shooting Spider-Man because he's finished work on the Odyssey. Supposedly now he's about to get on set, and which means that there's going to be set photos of him in the new costume. So my guess is they wanted to put out a publicity shot of the new costume before those shots started popping up on the internet. But it's kind of an unfortunate picture and pose. It's not really that flattering. It makes him look very scrawny, it's very awkward, and the costume doesn't look that great, and it's sort of, yeah.
He look like he's going to a kid's party, and again, if you're gonna come out and look like that, have your mask on, yo. I'm not trying to see Spider-Man without his mask, man. In this movie, this next movie, Brave New World, if this dude, not Brave New World, A Brand New Day, if he's taking off his mask, yo, it defeats the purpose of what the original ask was from Doctor Strange. We don't need to see his face, yo.
Not in the Spider-Man costume. Yeah, not in the costume.
Unless he's taking it off for going to school or something like that. But when he's Spider-Man, no reason for. I'm just done with that part of it.
This movie cannot resolve itself with all of his friends remembering somehow or learning all over again who he is. We can't get there in one movie. This movie should be about the ramifications of No Way Home and then having to take it back to the streets, start from the beginning. I mean, we're already a little nervous because of all the Avengers tie-ins. They confirmed, obviously, Bernthal's Punisher. They confirmed Ruffalo's Hulk. And I got to say, there was a mention in the confirmation that of Ruffalo and Bernthal, which we've heard before, but I'm so over these set pieces. I don't know if you are. So they were like, well, Spidey and Punisher are going to fight Hulk before they realize there's bigger enemies elsewhere. I'm done with those, man. I know we did it with Iron Man, Cap, and Thor in Avengers 1, and it felt kind of fresh. And then and I get it. The Hulk's a rage monster. So with Hulkbuster in Avengers 2, sometimes you gotta control him and that sort of stuff. But BVS stuff, I'm just done with the heroes that we know are gonna be on the same side. I don't need a 10 to 15 minute set piece of them punching each other just to get to the place we know they're gonna get to. It's treat those sequences like the origins. We can skip over some of those.
But I think the attempt here, and if they're able to do this, and it could work, is the Hulk having an episode and them having to sort of try and attempt at stopping him and but not. I think that's what it's going to be, not them going out and challenging him in some way or whatever the case may be, because they want to fight each other. I think this is going to be an episode where the Hulk.
It can't be Professor Hulk they're fighting. That'll be stupid. So he has to be Savage.
Yeah, exactly. He can't be Professor Hulk. Let's see how this goes, Brian. I'm over it as well because this doesn't make sense because we know the outcome, but how they pull it off is, I guess, the important piece of it. How they do it. Let's see.
Reverting Hulk to then set up what they want to do with a future Hulk that is no longer, cuddly and kid friendly.
Yeah. Lunchbox, as Tracy would call it. Lunchbox Hulk.
The future of Marvel, as I said, there's not a ton of product. That's not a huge surprise, but like it does feel like it's really downshifting. And I think the Fantastic Four box office fall off is going to put further pressure on tighter budgets, less product, try to eventize what you have. And then in the meantime, you kind of got this Doomsday Secret Wars behemoth that you sort of have to just get over the finish line and kind of get out of the way.
Interesting. I wonder what Kevin is sort of contemplating. I mean, obviously the full steam ahead on Doomsday and Secret Wars. I would imagine that his real focus and attention is sort of creating this X-Men world that he has the opportunity to build out. But regards with the Fantastic Four box office struggle, how do you think that he's thinking about that?
If you're Iger, the box office numbers speak louder right now. I think if you're Kevin, the pitch you would make is the first step is we had to get aligned with people's tastes. And so I think you look at the reviews for Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four both being back into the mid to high 80s, and you look at the audience scores both being back into the 90s, and you look at the cinema scores being A-. I think Kevin would say that's step one. We haven't had back-to-back movies where people generally that saw them liked what they saw in several years. And so his argument would be, if we can compound that, the money will come back to us. We have to rehabilitate. Right now, we're getting all the brand damage, and people aren't giving us the benefit of the doubt with their money. If we keep rehabilitating the brand with good product, that will flip, and people will come back to the new stories and the new characters and the X-Men. That's what his argument would be. The studio's argument is going to be, how much time do you have to do that, and how tight do we have to make the budget along the way to make sure that we make money? Like, people do need to remember, like, Cap 1, Thor, like, these movies didn't make a ton of money. They were making $400 million back then on $125 to $150 million budgets, right? It wasn't like they were making so much bank. They're like, oh my God, we got to fast track a sequel. They just made enough to keep going. And then Iron Man was a huge hit. It was $500 million, right? That's like, by today's standards, that'd be over $1 billion if you inflation adjusted it. But back then, that wasn't the kind of number where you're like, oh my God, they've like reinvented movies, right? It wasn't until Avengers 1. That was the record breaker. That was where it was like, people were like, wow, the 400 to 500 became $1.5 billion. And then 2 years later, you get Winter Soldier and Guardians, and they're both making 800, 850 on their own. And now every movie's getting close to $1 billion or going over it. But it took a number of $400 million, generally well-regarded, but not special movies to get you there. And I think that's what Kevin's counting on here.
The reset is a thing. This is resetting.
It is. I texted you this, and I'm just going to, as my last note, I'm going to watch. To me, I think the Magneto casting is huge. I think it's huge on so many levels in this. I think people are going to overread into it. And it's very much of the time. But just watch that casting because of Magneto's ethnicity and comic roots and what's going on in the world today. And you just saw, like with Superman, controversy around, this idea. That to me is a big statement that Disney can either make or not make about how back to the roots they're going, how traditional they're going, how progressive they still want to stay. Like, to me, like when I look at the lineup, that's the one. If they change that character and they changed, and I gotta be honest, in Brave New World, they took a supporting side character who had ties to Israel and they buried that. They rewrote it. They got rid of that. Just watch this one because this is a much bigger character. Right? This is a character with decade-long implications. This is one of the beloved characters in Marvel lore. Are they going to change who Magneto is? I think that's the one I'm watching.
And with that is our Marvel's Future episode for the Nerd Gen Report. Please remember to hit that like and subscribe, comment in the comment section below, and let us know what you think of what we discussed. About Fantastic Four box office, Blade, if you care to comment on that. And the X-Men. The X-Men is huge. We all knew that this reset was coming. We've been talking about it for years already. But now it's here, and what it will look like, how it will be run, what kind of quality we're going to get is going to be very interesting to see what they are able to pull off. Well, with that, remember to hit that like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the Nerd Gen Report.